Hey, Greg here, founder of www.wrestling-divas.webs.com, your source for highlighting the most beautiful and deadly competitors in professional wrestling. My next special guest was trained by the likes of Mickie Knuckles and is the current reigning Ohio Valley Wrestling Women's Champion. She rounds off her impressive resume as a former two-time Covey Pro Women's Champion, and I am very excited to start off my first interview of the new year with my next special guest, Jessie Belle. Hi, Jessie. How are you?
Hey. I'm doing awesome. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on your show. Perfect timing.
So I read in one of your past interviews that you had someone help you out in the industry and help break you into it and show you the ropes. Where in your life did you say that you wanted to pursue this? Because many fans don't pursue wrestling as a career.
When I was a kid, it was back during the Attitude Era for WWF, and I was watching it, and I pretty much would watch, like, Trish Stratus, and I was just, oh my gosh, I want to be, I want to do that. I want to be like her. I want to wrestle. It's awesome. But I was never introduced to the independent scene. I had no idea how to break into it. Like, for all I knew, Vince McMahon saw people, picked them out, and was like, all right, I'm going to teach you how to wrestle, and all I knew was that's how you got into it. The town that I'm from, they didn't have, wrestling shows that I knew of, and my parents didn't like wrestling, didn't support me watching wrestling. They always would give me crap about watching it, so I didn't have any idea on how to get into it or any support that would, point me in the right direction.
So as you began your journey and learned the ropes and the basics of how to break into the industry, while you were training, say, afterwards, what kind of mental preparation did you do to prepare yourself for this?
As far as mental preparation, I watched a lot of tapes, a lot of WCW, a lot of WWE, ECW, old territory wrestling. But, nothing could really mentally scare me for what I was going to experience, like in and out of the locker room, around, different wrestlers and stuff like that.
Now, I've had multiple people, and this is, of course, up for debate, tell me that the amount of women that are really looking to make a big impact in this industry for all the right reasons are the rule, or the exception and not the rule, excuse me. So what do you do to kind of prove to the others watching you and to the rest of the guys while you're training to send off the right message, to make sure that you're in this for the right reasons?
I dedicate absolutely everything that I have and I am to wrestling. I put in miles on the road. I train extremely hard, whether it's hitting the gym at 2 a.m. every single night, because that's when I have time to, between being on the road and doing shows and working a shoe job so I can afford to do, shows that don't, pay as well. I do nothing but study. I train every single week. I look professional. I keep professional gear. I always want to be better. If there's ever somebody who has made something for themselves in this world of wrestling and they're on the card with me, I always ask them if they could please watch and give me their feedback on my match, what I'm doing, what I could do better. I never accept it was okay as good enough, as good enough.
So, as you said in the beginning, your parents don't really understand wrestling or approve of it really, and really never have since you were a kid. So what's your driving force to keep you going when you're feeling down or feeling frustrated because of certain aspects and politics of the industry?
Pretty much just my husband, he wrestles Mr. Wrestling's rock star Ryan Howe, and we pretty much motivate each other, work out together, stay on our diet, fitness, and everything together, and we encourage each other, and he pretty much stands behind me and gives me all the support that I need.
So, like I just said, there are a lot of politics in wrestling because wrestling is a business and not just a form of entertainment. When you made your debut and started to train, I'm sure you realized different aspects of politics come into play. Was getting used to that a difficult transition, and how have you adjusted to that?
Yeah, it was extremely difficult. Unfortunately, you're not booked upon, what you should be booked upon, like how many people want to come to the show to see you, how talented you are, how charismatic you are. Like, I think that somebody should be booked because they are talented, they perform well, they can work with anybody, and people want to see them, when really, especially with women, that's not the case.
So moving on to the in-ring psychology, which is a big aspect of how to bring a character to life. A big part of the in-ring psychology part is telling a story and bringing a character to life that's unique and playing those elements of the good guy and the bad guy. When you're out there through what you've learned in wrestling so far, what is the message that you want to send to everyone who's watching Jessie Belle ring?
Well, depending upon where I'm at and which my character is, I want them to either see, my good side, which is I'm pretty happy-go-lucky. I'm funny. Like, I like to play a lot of jokes and mess with people, and just a strong Southern girl. You can't really get much crap past a redneck. If you pick a fight with one, you will definitely remember it for a while. So I want that to come across to the fans, as she's sweet, but you don't really want to mess with her. And then when I'm not being the nicest person in the world, I come off as the meaner version of Daisy Duke or Ellie Mae Clampett, and kind of like that girl from high school that everybody just hated, couldn't stand, but they kind of wanted to be her anyways.
Mm-hmm. When you're trying to be innovative in this industry, it is very hard because it is a copycat industry, and some may argue that being 100% innovative in this is impossible. So how do you emulate instead of imitate someone who you look up to in the industry, whether it be your favorite childhood star or someone that you're training with?
I don't know. I think, I have so much personality, whenever in everything that I do, and so I just use a lot of that. I think I look back at, how did such and such do something like this? I'm going to do this, but, I'm going to put my own little spin on it,
So
I try to use a lot of myself.
So this is an industry where, at least from what I've heard, there's way too little time in the world for anyone to understand every single aspect of it, no matter how experienced you are. Therefore, you have to have an open mind. How would you like to see yourself progress into the future, not just career-wise, but knowledge-wise in that in-ring psychology again?
As far as career-wise, I'd love to make it and be a part of the knockout roster in TNA. That's definitely my goal, primarily. And as far as understanding, psychology and stuff like that, I would just like to be able to wrestle in a sense that it doesn't matter if the person I'm wrestling's had one match or a million matches. I can put on a competitive match that makes sense, that looks good, that people are going to want to see again.
Now, getting to one of those big companies, whether it be the WWE or TNA Wrestling on Spike TV, something like that isn't easy because there's no clear-cut formula on how to make it. So how do you approach yourself career-wise and make sure that you're making all the right moves?
I basically, like I said before, I'm not trying to take the easy way out. You know, I'm working really hard. I'm training really hard. I'm listening and doing what I'm told. I'm practicing. I'm training. I'm dieting. Like I think Al Snow once told me, you have to look the part before the part that you want to have before you're going to get it. So, I'm not going to show up to a show dressed in sweatpants and a T-shirt and not really be in good shape, eating a Big Mac or something like that, and then I'm not going to go and hear, this is what we're trying to get across and be like, yeah, I don't care, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to do what I'm told to the best of my ability, get advice from those who have, a spot to tell me or a better understanding, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do whatever it takes, basically.
So a couple of those big companies, the WWE in particular, has criticized, not just with its Divas division, but with some of the storylines they've been pushing from time to time. And many have argued as a result that wrestling is moving into the more sports entertainment field rather than the professional wrestling field. Would you agree with that argument, and do you approve of it? And if not, what do you think is needed to sway it in a different direction?
So, as far as the argument of the direction of the women's division in the WWE?
Yeah.
They look at women's wrestling more as like a popcorn match, an opportunity for fans to get up and go to the bathroom or the concession stand and stuff like that. And they push it as strictly just something fairly gimmicky when, if you look back in our history, women used to be something that could be almost main event in WWE. And right now they're trying to push like people who look like models and are extremely beautiful, but they have no idea. Like, they didn't start wrestling because they loved wrestling. They started wrestling because somebody said, hey, you're hot, you should wrestle, So if you are pushing people like that as the head of your women's division, you're never going to find somebody who's going to understand wrestling as a fan would understand it, and how could they put on a show that a fan would really love. You tell them to do something and they do it just because, they don't believe it or feel it. So I think that they should start using, and I think that's what they may be starting to do. They have Sarah Del Rey down there, doing their training and head of the women's division, and I think, she is absolutely phenomenal and a great person to have in charge. And if they would hire more women, perhaps off the independent circuit, who wrestle because they have a love and a passion for it and have done nothing but study it and devote their lives to it, and they give the women more of a direction like it had, per se, in like the 80s, and the early 90s, that would be something that would not only, draw, but I think it would take off.
Now, many women in this industry have differing opinions on how they should act and how they should wrestle when they are in the ring. Some think that they should wrestle just like a guy, but some say that no, that's the wrong approach because you can't ever lose your femininity, and you always want women's wrestling to be special. What's your approach to kind of how women should wrestle in the ring?
I like to wrestle, like you said, like a guy, but I train with, mostly men, with the exception of, everything that Mickie Knuckles taught me. And even, that's, she ain't no girly girl, I think they should wrestle with what feels natural. I mean, if you was to watch my indie stuff, a lot of my wrestling probably does seem like one of the guys. I can chain, I can do a lot of the power moves, but I mean, you need to have, of course, femininity. Otherwise, what are you watching that's different from what the guys do? I just say wrestle how it feels more natural to you and go with it. And then, if it feels natural to you and you're not trying to like fake it, then the fans aren't going to not get behind you and think that you're faking it,
So wrestling is this type of industry that has no promises, no guarantees, no matter how much work you put into it. So how do you look back at everything that you've done, whether it be, success or, mistakes, and look at it with a positive attitude and not get discouraged?
Well, basically, I don't think I'm ever going to be really disappointed. Like, even if I broke my leg tomorrow and I was like, I'm not going to wrestle anymore. I mean, I've done so much more than I ever would have imagined whenever I started in wrestling. I started out as a valet and a manager for like 3 years, and the person that it was originally like that brought me in was like, you're never going to do anything. You're terrible. You suck. You're never going to equivalent to anything. Nobody would ever book you or bring you in. And with that, and then my parents saying that I'm wasting my time and I'm never going to do anything, I've done nothing but excel and go past what I ever thought that I could and anybody else ever thought that I could. I'm pretty proud of what I've been able to accomplish. I've wrestled, in like 17 different states for a lot of different local TV promotions. I've held, several belts. I've wrestled in front of thousands, and I've wrestled in front of dozens. And, I've made an impact on people at the shows, to be someone that some people, no matter how small of a venue, they consider you to be a superstar. And the fact that they want your autograph and your picture, that's an honor. At least to me it is. So, I mean, I can't be disappointed with what I've done and what I've accomplished. I'm proud of, everything that I've been able to do. So I'm never going to have a negative outlook on what I've done with my time and my life this far.
So they always say that once you enter the wrestling industry, you never truly leave it. So how do you think wrestling will continue to affect your future career and also your decision-making even after you, quote-unquote, retire?
Well, I mean, I made a pact to myself but when I was getting into it. I love wrestling, and I'm going to do absolutely everything that I can in a certain amount of time to make it. But if I don't make it, I have to be realistic because wrestling's extremely hard on your body. I don't want to be limping and like unable to move comfortably by the time I'm 40 and unable to play with any kids that I might, have in the future. So I always said if I don't make it by a certain age at a certain point, I'm going to withdraw myself from wrestling, and I'd still follow it and watch it on TV and stuff and maybe go to some independent shows to watch as a fan. But I would focus on finishing my education and starting into a career path. And then, maybe down the road, if I had money after establishing myself and taking care of my future, I might invest in an independent promotion and, just do something like that. But I would, when I'm done, I'm pretty much going to be done and try to, step out and just enjoy it as a fan and take care of myself,
So what advice would you give aspiring fans about wrestling, not just in the case of how to be, in top physical shape, but to make sure that they're a good diplomat, they don't step on any toes, they don't get into any hot water, and they stay out of the bad path?
Well, that's really hard because sometimes no matter how polite you are and how out of the way you go to be respectful of everyone, if you are doing something right and you're doing well and getting attention, people are going to find reasons to not like you. I've experienced a lot of that. But basically, if you're going to come from being a fan into wrestling, make sure that it's something that you have the ability to devote absolutely everything you have to, because wrestling's not something that you can just, it's not something that's worth just doing on the weekends, because it's so much toll on your body. It's so much time away from your friends, away from your family. You know, it takes so much more than putting on some gear and stepping into a ring. You need to talk to those who have been there before you. You need to find training from somebody who has done something in this business. Don't go to your local independent promotion that's run by Joe Schmo and get training. You know, go somewhere like, I mean, not just Ohio Valley Wrestling, but, you know, you can go to Booker T School, or you can go to the Dudley Boys School. Go get training that's going to be respected. And then when you get that, listen to everything they say about your in-ring and your out-of-ring and how you need to carry yourself. And you always, I mean, wrestling is a lot about respect. You need to respect everybody that you're there with, because you all have the same goal, the same ambition, the same desire. And, you know, shut up and listen. I don't know how many times I've been told that, but just shut up and listen and, you know, do what you're told, do what you're asked. And if you're not going to devote everything you have to it, and you're surrounded by a lot of people who have lost everything because they've devoted everything, you're going to catch heat.
This is one of my favorite questions to ask of any interview I've done, and it's been pretty consistent. If you could sum up your experience with professional wrestling using just one word, what would that be?
One word. I guess just amazing. It's been absolutely amazing.
Before we wrap up, how can fans or bookers get in contact with you?
You can follow my Twitter. It's @1Jessie Belle, JESSIEBELLE. I'm also on Facebook as Jessie Belle. You can contact me on there. I absolutely always respond and contact everybody back through those two pages. And then if you want to keep up with me, or you want to like see some stuff that I've done, you can always plug my name into YouTube. You can see the good, the bad, the ugly. You know, Google, you can find pictures, interviews, stuff like that. Professional Girl Wrestling Association has all kinds of stuff. Ohio Valley, OVWrestling.com. That'll bring up, you know, some stuff. Just check it out.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Jessie, and it really sounds like you're making all the right moves, and I hope that you achieve nothing but continued success in wrestling. So thank you so much for your time.
All right, thank you.
Thanks to everyone else for tuning in. Be sure to check out www.wrestling-divas with a Z .webs.com for more content, and be sure to follow the site on Twitter @Wrestling Divas, again with a Z at the end, for all the latest teasers and updates.